Welcome back to the Author Spotlight. I'm so excited about our next guest. Her name is Debby Montgomery Johnson, and she's written a new book called Fearless. In fact, a gift called Fearless the day she discovered she was fierce and strong. Now, Debby Montgomery Johnson is a best-selling author, international speaker, entrepreneur, podcast host, and former Air Force officer who served at the Pentagon. She's the founder of The Woman Behind the Smile.com, and Debby's audiences and readers all around the world are empowered for life change by transformational power of fearlessness. Well, welcome to the show today, Debby Montgomery Johnson. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, it's so great to have you. I want to know what motivated, what inspired this topic of fearless for you?
Well, over the last few years, I have been speaking out about owning up your story and not being afraid to do whatever you want. And so the story came about because I just felt like I could be fearless now. I could tell my story and tell stories about anybody in a way that people would be excited about it and catch the energy of it.
Now, this is actually your second book. Tell us a little bit about the first book. How long have you wanted to be an author? And then when did you write the first book? And then what's the plan for the second book, Fearless?
The first book is called The Woman Behind the Smile, and it's the triumph over the ultimate online dating betrayal. That actually came about more as a tool to help people understand how men and women particularly, can be taken in an online relationship fraud. My husband passed away 12 years ago, and I got into online dating thinking it was safe. It went on for 2 years, and at the end found out that it was a scam, and I lost over $1 million. So that book, The Woman Behind the Smile, was my way to recover emotionally and get the word out to beware and be aware. And I never had the aspirations to be an author, but that just came from, I had written 4,000 pages of journal through that 2-year relationship. And the book came out of that journal. And it was something that was really important to share with the world. So this book came out of not wanting to be a memoir anymore. I wanted people to know that by speaking up, it took me a long while after being victimized by this online dating to speak my truth, to speak my passion, and to not let this happen to anybody else. And that's where I got the empowerment to come out and be fearless. And I've jumped out of airplanes. I've done everything but bungee jumping. I won't do that. But it just gave me the courage to speak up and own what happened to me and not be a victim, be a survivor, a thriver, and now to be a voice for the women that feel like they can't speak up.
Well, I know it's powerful, and you've done a number of interviews, hosting your own podcast for the last year and a half. How many are, let me ask you this, how do people find your podcast? How do they listen to your podcast and find you?
They can find me on thewomanbehindthesmile.com. And we actually have a show page there where you can sign up and then listen to the show for free. It's a live show on Thursday mornings at 9:00 Eastern time. And it's an extraordinary conversation with guests from all over the world with all different stories. And it's been a very fun adventure for me.
Now, in Fearless, who did you write Fearless for? Who is the reader of this book? Who do you see benefiting the most from it?
I see women of all ages that want to do something different, that maybe own a company or maybe are changing jobs, that are afraid of making that change. I've learned to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And this book is for those people that want to change and get, change a job or change their life, change a relationship. And it also has a little twist in it that I'm not going to talk about, but it allows us to speak up about things that are different. And I know my age group particularly is just speechless sometimes about things that are happening in the world. And this gives us an opportunity to speak up and have a dialogue, have a really confident dialogue about things that are different in life.
I know you've been empowering people to share their story and particularly regain their power. And I love this. I haven't yet jumped out of a plane, but you've you've already given me enough fear of God to not bungee jump. So I'm not going to be bungee jumping, but I will be jumping out of a plane this year, thanks to your encouragement and your advice there on that. So I know you do a lot of speaking. So when you go speak, do you host workshops? Do you do keynotes? What type of and I guess with the pandemic, you've been doing a lot of virtual events, but what do you find yourself moving forward post-pandemic doing more of now around this new book?
Well, I want to spread the word. Would love to speak to any organization that has people that are afraid to speak up. In the book, we actually talk about a woman that goes into a corporation that is run by men. Nothing wrong with that. But the women that had so many valuable things to add were afraid to speak up until the main character gave them the power to do so. And I want to be able to do that. I want someone to be able to walk into a gym class and not be afraid because they're not a size 2, and get out there and exercise with the rest of them, or better yet, start their own company for women that are just like her. So I'm willing to speak to any audience because we all have something that we're afraid of, and we just need that kick in the pants to do something about it.
The website's thewomanbehindthesmile.com. You can contact Debby Montgomery Johnson to speak on your podcast, to speak on your stage, but also to be interviewed in the media around the release of the book. And did you decide this book? Because I know the first book was nonfiction. Is this book fiction or nonfiction? Was one of the questions on social media.
This is fiction. I think some of it is based on me and based on who I am, some of the things that I would say or do, but it's not my story.
Well, and I think that's very powerful. A lot of our top selling books right now are fiction, because you can literally, people are always wondering when they read your book, how much of it's true and how much of it is fiction. So what's new for you now post-pandemic? I would just like to say, what's next for Debby Montgomery Johnson, those that are reconnecting with you post-pandemic? Give us a little slice of book tour, thewomanbehindthesmile.com. How else can they engage with you, and give us a little nugget?
Well, the sky's the limit, and I will be traveling. I haven't traveled much the past year. Like you said, I've done most of my things online, virtually. With the podcast, I'm always looking for guests for my podcast, and I'm looking to be a guest on other podcasts. I want to be speaking again because with the pandemic, my first book was about online relationship fraud. And we have an international crisis now of people being scammed by folks that they believe are their friends online. And so that's where I'm on the board of directors of an organization called SCARS, which is the Society of Citizens Against Relationship Scams. We do a lot of international work, and that's what I'm working on now, is trying to get the word out that we just need to be careful when we're online and thinking that people are our friends, looking for friendship online. We have to be very careful, because I would say 98% of the time they are not our friends.
That's great advice, and that's great advice for any age category, because I think perpetrators are getting more and more wise, and the technology is getting more and more pervasive and invasive. So thank you so much for your great work. And The Woman Behind the Smile, and the title of the book is Fearless. And I think it's a great time coming up on the holidays. We've got special pricing going on right now. It's available print book, hardcover, ebook, and audio. The day she discovered she was fierce and strong. Buy 2 or 3, buy them as gifts. And I can see these working in a corporation. I can see people just buying these books and sharing these books around women's organizations. So thewomanbehindthesmile.com, you can get a hold of author Debby Montgomery Johnson, and also sign up for her podcast so you don't miss any updates. I know maybe tell us about one of the most inspiring or interesting people you've interviewed in the last year and a half.
I can't pinpoint one, but I had one this morning. Her name was Christine Handy, international model, author, humanitarian, beautiful woman who underwent, who was a cancer survivor, breast cancer survivor. But the journey she went through to, her whole life was based on her looks. And then all of a sudden she was in 14 months of chemotherapy, lost her hair. She had to just, she was on the verge of suicide. And she said, I had to listen to my gut. I had to listen to the purpose of why this happened to me. And she is now risen to be a spokeswoman and gives away 55,000 wigs to women that can't afford wigs that have been through breast cancer. So what I love is that people all have a story, and they want to get their story out, because if we keep the stories hidden, the person sitting beside us may have that same thing going on in their lives, and they think that they're alone and they want to give up. I don't want people to give up because of something that's happened in their life. I didn't give up. And you have to be vulnerable and speak up. And sometimes it hurts, but sometimes the pain is worth it. Your passion is worth the pain that you have to go through to get there.
It's called Fearless. And I'm so proud of you and the work that you've done. And I think your favorite fans are like in their 90s, right? You've got people in their 90s listening to you every week. So congratulations on everything. Congratulations on the new book. We'll be holding it in our hands soon. So go ahead and tap the order a few for friends. And Debby Montgomery Johnson, thanks for being with us today on the Author Spotlight.
My pleasure. Thank you, Mike.